Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Financial Synergies space for the EB Academy. And today I will be walking you through some examples of how you can have your financial synergies within your EB team. And the reason why I specifically put this in here is because finance and TM both are always seen as separately from operations. And for a long time, this is also how we looked within Isaac at the way that we should work with finance. And that finance is just something that you need to do next to the actual doing the Isaac. And from the core of my heart, I completely disagree with this because I believe finance is the backbone of the organization, and therefore finance should also be the backbone of your operations. So for this one, I will explain a little bit more about what are the possible synergies that you can have within your LC and come to stand. So the agenda for this session will be synergy with LCP, synergy with OGX, synergy with ICX, synergy with TM, synergy with commission, and financial policies, which regard more the way that you're working with finance in your LCs. This will be a short session, but still, I hope you can take some learnings out of it. First of all, I want to start with synergy with the LCP. And synergy with the LCP can come for two main things, which is performance management and putting down strategic vision. So to start with performance management, you are, as a financier, responsible for how everyone is doing in terms of their financial performance, and not necessarily in terms of whether they are getting their approves, but making them constantly aware of what effect it will have on the organization if they do not take it seriously or do not take into account that this may affect your sustainability in LC. So that is where your first synergy comes in, and that is stimulating LCVPs to have financial goals achieved. And how can you see this coming back? You can see this coming back with co-creation of the budget so that LCVPs are helping in creating the budget. For example, I work together with my MC as well, and they create their parts of the budget so that they also personally feel responsible for the parts that they need to do. Another example of this can be the reports that you're bringing out to your EB and to your plenary so that everybody knows what impact it has when you do not get your financial results, what impact that has on the LC, or even if you do get them, what new things you can do with that. So make sure that you put your performance management meetings with your LCP and see how can you assist them into driving certain things within the local entity. Next point is strategic vision, because as LCVP, you have to act as a resource manager because you know what are the financial resources that you have and how can we use these financial resources to grow our operations in the future. So whenever the LCP is working on the strategic vision of the LC, it is important for you to give the inputs on how from a financial side these can be assisted. And therefore, I think it is important that you in your synergy meetings with the LCP, also discuss where do you want the LC to go, and then see for yourself, not for yourself, but see what effect that will have in the organization and report back to that on the LCP so they also know how their strategic vision translates into reality. So this is your main synergy with the LCP, and I would also say this is the main synergy that you should have in the LC. So make sure that you have the proper communication channels with them, and that you can help them. Next is the synergy with OGX, and again, here comes performance management, but on the other hand, there come direct expenditures. So for performance management, it is basically it's the same, but it means that you sit with your LCVP and you first of all translate the financial goals into their exchange goals. And then next to that, also make sure that for your reporting to the plenary, that you explain, that you sit down together to see how can we best explain what impact it has if our TLs and members do not do their work, what impact that has on the organization, and therefore you can also stimulate them through that. So really think here about the key messages that you want to deliver to the different groups of people, for them to understand better how business-like Isaac is actually, and how business-like, therefore, they should also treat it. Next one is direct expenditures, and this comes really in being an objective investment analyzer. So over the last terms, I don't think we've seen a lot investments coming from the LC level on how to grow our exchange products. And this is wrong, because the more you spend your money on direct expenditures, the more output you will also get in your exchange programs. So as an objective investment analyzer, you need to talk to your LCVP OGX in this case, ask what they want to do to make sure that Isaac becomes bigger in terms of exchange. And then it is your task to take these inputs, find the right indicators on what the output would be for that, and give an objective investment analysis back to the LCVP OGX, ask them if they want to go for it, and of course, give them your subjective opinion as well, especially when there are multiple options, because you can see as a resource manager what impact it will have on the organization. But for this, you can think about ads, you can think about marketing stunts, you can think about value delivery improvements, how do you want to generate showcasing material, etc., etc. Now, actually, for ICX, there is not a huge difference between this, because you will still do your performance management and you will still be the objective analyzer. But just to give some examples on what this can be for ICX is what can you do for example, upsell opportunities to get more EPs at a certain partner? What can you do for example, building relations? Think about little Christmas gifts or Christmas cards for IGE opportunity takers. Think about what you can do for EPs to make their experience here better and therefore become net promoters of Isaac in Austria, etc., etc. So this is really your synergy with operations, and you need to make sure that you give the right messages to these VPs. Now, the next one is a synergy with TM, and also one that I don't think is very much used is because this is more about recruitment campaigns and operations campaigns. So we always run these things on a national level, but together with your LCVP TM, you should sit together and decide how can we build recruitment campaigns and operations campaigns in a way that more people get attracted to our Isaac organization, and what are your plans as a VPTM to work on these two aspects. So for recruitment campaigns, again, you're an objective investment analyzer, but you're the same for the operations campaign. For recruitment campaigns, think, for example, about how can you make an information evening attractive? How can you make information stands attractive? How can you do referrals to more friends, etc., etc. And for operations campaign, it's more like how can you stimulate a sense of competition within the LC. So shall you create your own campaign and building different teams? What is the prize that these teams get if they get most opens, applicants, approves, whatever? But again, think about how can you assist them in these things. Now, one of the bigger synergies is with the commission, and I'm going to bring it back to three things. First of all, financial reporting, because here you need to be, the text there is wrong. What it needs to say is that you need to show a good overview of how the national plenary is running their organization, but also on how the local plenary is running their organization. And you share your reports and you get inputs from different parts of the entity so that you can learn and grow further your LC. Then financial investments, that's actually the objective investment analyzer. So similar, but how can you take investments to a national level, and how can you make sure that things are being run in different LCs? Take, for example, the Black Friday. The Black Friday incentive that we launched was one for national financial investment. And next, you can see the task force development. So as LCVPs, we also need to work more towards a strategic vision, as for example, finance standards implementation, and how we can how we can do these things better. And that's where finance standards implementation comes into place, for example. But you can also think about how to create a better auditing system, how to improve the reporting system. Is there a way that we can apply for funds, or should we align things, whatever? I really want to spend next semester as well on looking what are the things that you want to improve as an LCVP, and develop task forces around that with concrete action steps, deadlines, and just get things done together to make sure that your experience also becomes more strategically. So these are a couple of synergies that you will have with the Commission. And yeah, for the next part of this space, I want to go more into financial policies, which is basically what will finance allow and what will it not allow. For this, you need to create rules with your people which explain what you will reimburse, what you will not reimburse, on what term you will reimburse, etc., etc. So how can you ask for reimbursements? On what basis will you pay reimbursements? What financial reimbursements will you at all do? And what things need to be provided. So think about financial documents. Yes. I think here it is important that you create these before you start your term, and that they're accessible to everyone in the plenary, so that they exactly know how they can count on the financial aspect of ISAC in your LC. And you should not just always pay everything back because you think it was okay for people to have reimbursed it, but you need strict rules, because these are also the things that we need to prove stuff. And also, if you do not set these strict rules, then you may be expending completely out of budget. Now, this was a short overview of different financial synergies that you should have. And I would suggest that you have these synergy meetings at least on a bi-weekly basis with all these different stakeholders to discuss these things, keep being up to date, because as an LCVP Finance, you need to be up to date on everything. And therefore, these synergy meetings are a super good way for you to get updated on stuff, but also for the other LCVPs to get updated on the financial situation. And lastly, what I want to talk about is what does finance not do, because the role of finance is often hugely misunderstood. And here are some things that we do not do. We are not there to do groceries for local conferences just because we have ownership over the bank card. We are not there to look for train tickets when your LCP needs to travel somewhere. You're not there to buy office equipment. You're not responsible for the operational results. You are just the one who constantly reminds people on the financial results, which is partly translated in operational results. But in the end, it does not mean that if there is no money, that it's your fault. It just means that your LCVP may not have been reaching their financial goals. And therefore, it is so important to keep having these synergies with the people. And I could name much more, but especially the last one that I mentioned is very important, because often it is looked to the LCVP Finance if there's no money, even though it is simply the translation, what has been done in the operational areas. And like I said, it would have been a short EB Academy session, and in the end it was, because this is the end of this session. But also for financial synergies, and if you have ideas on improve them, you can always approach me, approach the Commission, and then we can find the best way to establish these financial synergies. I honestly think that finance is at the heart of operations, and therefore you should be involved as much as possible in them. Thank you for watching again. Because for the last one, I didn't ask a question. I did that on purpose because I want both questions to be in here. I'm gonna ask 2 questions, and you can fill in the form on the EB Slack, EB 1920 Slack, with the answer to these 2 questions. So first of all, which finance standards are there, and with which one does it all start? And for this session, what is the most obvious, no, what are the 2 synergies that you have with your LCVP TM? Thank you for watching, and I hope to speak to you all soon at TACO. Bye-bye.